Hey everyone, welcome in. Welcome to the final waiver wire show of the 2023 fantasy football season. I'm Justin Fry. He's Joe Harlow. You can find us on X. I'm at FFF Ballers. He's at Jolo63. We're going to try to hustle through this one today because we both have family in town, but we're here to try to help you win your championship matchups first. So as always, feel free to ask us questions as we go, and always check out our server, our Discord server. We got lots of great writers that you'll have access to in there if you're a subscriber. And like we said, shoot us comments. We'll hit up some. We already have one from Will. We will get to when we get over to wide receivers. And with that, we got a few injuries to get through. You got it? Or you want me to take? I can take injuries if you want.
I can do it this time.
Okay.
So starting with the signal callers, Brock Purdy injured his shoulder. Sounds like it was a repeat injury a bit from last week, or from the previous week, or whenever they played Arizona. So he was pulled from the game. Should be fine. Do think if it was a playoff game, or a play-in game, he probably would have come back. But just kind of how that game went. Just left the game. Don't expect it to be super serious, though. We'll see his status for this week with the division. Have they clinched the division yet?
I'm sorry, who?
The 49ers.
Yes.
And Brock Purdy. Okay.
Yes.
So we'll see there. But just something to monitor. Also, Trevor Lawrence, quarterback for the Jaguars, was injured again. Also a shoulder injury. His struggle of a season continues. I would not plan on having him this week. He might end up playing, but just with repeat injuries for him, I would not be surprised if they did set him down, though they do need him to win these next couple games. Running back, Isaiah Pacheco had a concussion yesterday with the shorter week. I would also not be surprised if we don't have him, so we'll kind of get into a replacement there in a little bit. Wide receiver wise, Jalen Waddle left with a high ankle sprain. I saw something that he could be done for the rest of the regular season, which would suck, but yeah. Oh, goodness. Sorry, computer spazzed out there. Jordan Addison also had a high ankle sprain. I would assume similar there, could be done for the regular season. Dontavian Wicks, who was one of our names last week, did leave the game with a chest injury, was it?
Yes.
But he did not until scoring a touchdown, so that helped our stats this week, which hopefully if you did start him on our recommendation, you still got a little bit. TJ Hawkinson also was injured at tight end. Wide receiver wise, Cortland Sutton also had a concussion. And so we know how those go. Might not be active this week. Michael Pittman Jr. had his concussion symptoms come back late last week after he was trending towards playing. So we'll see there. That makes it a little hairier for this week if he comes back. But we shall see. Tight end wise, TJ Hawkinson had a not good knee injury, left the game, did not return. Cole Kmet had a knee injury as well. Did he return to that game? That was not one I had super close eyes on.
Nope, I would not. We don't mention him, but if you're in a super deep league, Bob Tunyon is probably an interesting name.
What name was that again? Sorry.
Robert Tunyon.
Oh, yeah. Forgot he was there, honestly.
I only remember because of that bad drop last week or the week before.
Fair. Switching over to the defensive side, on the defensive line, DJ Wonnum, a breakout player for the Vikings, had a quad injury and is done for their season. Shaq Barrett for the Bucks had a groin injury. Zaven Collins for the Cardinals had a foot injury. Jonathan Grenard, another one of our recommendations last week, left relatively early with an ankle injury, did not return. I have not seen much else on them. I thought Grenard was going to be a multi-week one, but Yeah, this week it's so hard. That's the one thing with the waiver show. Injuries are tough.
Absolutely.
And linebacker wise, Landon Roberts had a pec injury. It has already been ruled out for this week, I believe.
Yep. We'll talk about that one.
Yeah, Minka Fitzpatrick, knee injury. His injury riddled season continues. Kyle Hamilton, after showing what he really is last night, knee injury. I really don't know what that one's looking like. He seemed to be doing okay on the sidelines and stuff, but the injury looked not great. So we'll see there. Hopefully he's able to play this week in championship rounds. Colts safety Julian Blackman had a shoulder injury, and then Jimmy Ward had a quad injury for the Texans. So big injury list again, which is wonderful for championship week.
Yeah, George Play. Just sorry, we see your message. We will get to you. I promise. We should get to you pretty quickly here because we'll hop in to our D lineman here. We did pretty good. Like Joe said, Greener got hurt, so he didn't do much. But the other two recommendations, Malcolm Kuntz and Christian Barmore, I believe, at least in the scoring that I was looking at, were like top 3 defensive linemen. So 2 of the 3 in the top 3 is pretty good. I think they each had 3 sacks in the game. So good week for us. Go team.
Yeah, this was maybe our best week so far, which hopefully
just
continues.
I'll say just in time to help hopefully get you guys to win the championship game. So speaking of the DJ Wanham injury, Pat Jones took 68% of snaps in week 16 and put up 6 tackles and a sack versus the Lions. That role, I don't see it going anywhere with Wanham. I think he tore his quad. He's having surgery. So tough blow there. But I liked him coming out of Florida State. I was annoyed he hasn't seen more playing time. So hopefully I'm picking the right guy.
I think he was Pittsburgh, right?
Was he Pittsburgh?
I thought so.
I could be wrong. So, okay. Either way, I liked him coming.
Important part here.
Yeah, I liked him coming out. Want him to get more playing time. He's going to. We'll see if he can keep it up.
Hopefully. So pretty much what we're doing this week is just give one main name, then we'll touch on another one real quick. Secondary name here is Preston Smith. Great matchup against the Vikings. They are top 5 for edge rushers, and he is coming off a 1.5 sack game. So deeper league, upside shot there across from Rashawn Gary.
Right. So linebacker, we crushed last week, 3-0. EJ Speed and Kaliki Hudson both were top 10 linebackers, and Timon Clark, while he wasn't fantastic, still put up 7 tackles. So it's pretty.
That was a weird one for Clark. Matchup wise, they actually played Micah Parsons off ball more just with the Dolphins matchup. So I'd still expect Clark to move back more to him and Marquise Bell to have a higher usage next week.
Yeah. Do you want to? Which linebacker you want to hit on? We've got 3. We can.
Let's touch Kaliki Hudson again.
All right.
He's in there. He has 28 tackles over the last 2 games.
And that's pretty evenly spread out, 13 and 15. So
love to see that. Just keep rolling with him at this point.
Yeah. So to quickly hop over. Okay, so I'm actually going to hop to George Play's question real quick because I want to ask him a question. So he has C.J. Mosley, Ernest Jones, and Ivan Pace. Should he drop one of those? It's easily Ivan Pace. He dropped to 40% snaps this past week with Hicks back. And Cody Barton or Keaton Ellis. So Cody Barton being available makes me think Hudson would be available. And if that's the case, I am dropping Pace for Hudson if you need tackles. Especially in solo assists. I got to check if assists count in your league, then it definitely I would target Hudson on the waivers this week.
Absolutely. Though if Hudson is already on someone else's team, Ellis here I think is a smash pickup over Pace at this point.
Over Barton too?
Yeah, I think so.
You prefer? I would pick up either of them over Pace.
I agree.
Especially if you need
Ellis, Barton, Pace for that trio.
Yep, and Hudson's over all of them. So, sorry. to go kind of off script a little bit, we'll hop
No,
back
you are
and we'll
good.
touch the Steelers situation, which they have, like Joe said, Landon Roberts is already ruled out. So Michael Walker is my favorite pickup. He only played like a little bit more than normal this past week, but 10 tackles the week that Roberts missed earlier this year and 8 this past week. So pretty good play. Deeper league, you could add Blake Martinez. The Steelers were saying he's probably going to see a role, so I assume he's going to be the other linebacker. And Sione Takitaki for the Browns as well. Solid matchup against the Jets this week, and that's the one Hudson just went off against. And he's up to nearly 100% of snaps this past week. So couple
that one, Taki I would not play with confidence. Just their linebacker situation has been really weird overall this year. JOK I would still play over him for sure. That's Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. But if you're in a deep league multi-linebacker, need an upside shot, Taki I think is a good one, especially with Walker out. He's been seeing a lot more work, more consistent work at least.
All right. And with that, we'll hop down to DB because I don't see any more linebacker questions. It's just a receiver question.
And keep those questions coming. If you have other IDP questions, we'll hit those up towards the end.
Absolutely. I've got set 2 and 1. The only so Desmond King and Quan Martin both did very well last week. Wingard, I think Cisco came back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he only played like 40% of snaps. So unfortunately, a little bit of a struggle. So we'll hit on PJ Locke here. Kareem Jackson came back from suspension and was promptly cut by the Broncos. They're likely to bring him back in the practice squad. I never saw that transaction actually come through yet, but that transaction.
Seeing in the doc was when I first heard about it, to be totally honest.
Yeah. So to me, I mean, Locke was everywhere. On that game the other night, and I mean he's played 5 games in a row now as starter and has 35 tackles, 3 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. So, I mean, he had one down game where he had 4 tackles. The other ones have all been 8 and 9 tackle games. So, for me, that's a smash. Even safety 1, borderline safety 1 type.
Yeah.
DB1. So, yeah, keeping him fired up and rolling with him.
Yeah, and he's still getting a good almost 50% slot box rate. So
and he's 4th year, so he should be a pending unrestricted free agent, which means even in a dynasty league, if I'm out now, I'm trying to get him on my roster. Just watching how he's been doing these past few weeks, I would expect the Broncos to bring him back. Absolutely. And Simmons is getting a little long in the tooth. He might be their top safety here as soon as next year. And
especially their other upside young safety, Caden Stearns, has had 2 season-ending injuries in his time with the Broncos. So,
yeah, I think JL Skinner might be the other starting safety soon. But
that's what it seems like. Pat Jones, who we mentioned earlier, also is another interesting dynasty stash, I would say.
Absolutely.
Especially with Wonham and Davenport being hurt and relatively big injuries. He might be the top guy.
Davenport's a 1-year guy. I don't know Wonham. This is his 3rd or 4th season.
Yeah.
I can check. I'll check that quick.
Sounds good. And Jones did go to Pittsburgh to find out. I think he was from Florida, though. So, other name, DB, cornerback to hit on, Marlon Humphrey. Especially in cornerback leagues for this one. This is a very speculative one, depending on Kyle Hamilton's status. Miami is a top 3 matchup for cornerbacks right now in our tackle premium scoring, which is a tool you can look at team fantasy points allowed by position over at idpguys.org. One of our tools that we offer to, I don't remember if it's a free tool or not.
I don't think so, but I'm not sure.
I'm not 100% sure, but if you subscribe, either way, you get access to that. And it's been awesome for helping out with IDP leagues and offensive stuff as well. But yeah, Miami is a top 3 matchup. And this past week, Humphrey actually saw about a third of his snaps in the slot, and most of those were after Hamilton left, if I'm not mistaken. This is also a very similar offense that they're going to be playing. Mike McDaniel, who is one of the hundreds, it seems, of Kyle Shanahan disciples. Obviously not a 1-to-1, but similar enough that if he is in that slot role that just had 3 interceptions off of Brock Purdy, that could see a upside shot there. It's upside play. Wouldn't want to play him if Hamilton's active though, unless you're in like a 3 cornerback league. As I know, was it Will who's in like, or someone that earlier commented that a couple weeks ago that they were in like a 3 corner league. So go ahead and grab Marlon Humphrey.
It's a solid play. I mean, a little lucky with some of those bounces, but
of course, but
that's the way it goes. So, I mean, the teams around the ball making deflections. So, we have one other question coming from George Play. It's actually a team defense question, which I'll be honest, I got to look at here. Schedules a little bit because he's got the Broncos and Chiefs. Should I drop one of those for the Rams? I'm assuming you're gonna have to play both of them. So the Broncos play the Chargers. Easton Stick, I would be fine with keeping them. Specifically, if you're looking for pick sixes, that's an interesting dynamic there. Because I'm actually going to target bad quarterbacks more than anything else. KC
has the Bengals, the Raiders have the Colts, and the Rams have the Giants. So I think I'd want the Broncos and Rams here. Oh, just to play one. I think I might actually go with the Rams here. Though, is Tyrod going to be the starter now?
I expect him to start. They said they won't announce it, but
okay.
I would be shocked.
I would grab the Rams defense, and then if DeVito starts against, play the Rams, and if it is Tyrod, I would go with the Broncos against Easton Stick. Would be the way I'd go here.
Yeah, I expect Browning to bounce back after a bad game. So I don't think I want to play the Chiefs D. I think that's it for
yes. It looks like the other question from Will is a wide receiver one.
Yeah.
So just a reminder, hit any other offensive questions or still defensive questions, and we will get to those as those positions come up or at the end.
Yeah. So you want to hit a quarterback here?
Yeah. First, how did we do last week?
Baker Mayfield did. I mean, he was fine. I think he was quarterback 14 on the week, so pretty solid streamer. That's good enough. And see how we do this week.
Yeah. Do you want to hit the first name we got?
Sure. Derek Carr has actually been a top 7 quarterback each of the last 2 weeks. I think quarterback 3 and then quarterback 7. He's thrown 3 touchdowns in each game, and now he gets to play the very generous Bucs pass defense, who are allowing the second most fantasy points to quarterbacks over the last month. So fire him up.
Yep. Other name just want to touch on is Bryce Young, who is playing the top quarterback matchup of the year, and I think over the last month as well, in the Jaguars. Young, who has struggled a lot this season, did just come off his best performance of the season, throwing for over 300 and 2 touchdowns in a wild comeback attempt against the Packers. But still wouldn't want to start him as a QB1, but super flex league, if he's out there, which after a big struggle of the year, he might be. Other name to mention is Jacoby Brissett. If he does start, he has been his couple drives this year has been massively competent for the Commanders. I think they have the Niners.
Yep. So. Rough matchup, but I mean, honestly, too, especially Dynasty League Superflex, I'm stashing him if he's been dropped places, because I don't think there are 32 quarterbacks, even taking the rookies into account, that are going to be starting over him next year.
Yeah. Yep.
I would not be shocked to see him sign somewhere to start. So
yeah, even if it's just as a bridge.
Yeah, whoever drafts a late day one quarterback or
JJ McCarthy or
I could see like a Raiders situation, Vikings. There's some spots.
There are. Vikings would be so fun.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Let's go to the running backs.
All right, 2-1-1 last week. Nope, is that right? Nope, that's not. I didn't touch that. I'd say 1-1-1.
Yeah.
So Chris Rodriguez was fantastic. CJ Spiller was CJ Spiller, but he's still a handcuff.
Isaiah Spiller.
Wow.
That's
Cousins. A throwback.
Yeah.
And the 2 Colts running backs that we brought up last week were backups to Jonathan Taylor. So that was a whiff there. Big name to talk about here at running back is everyone's favorite running back to crap on, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Jerick McKinnon's now on IR, in case you missed it, and Isaiah Pacheco is in concussion protocol. So he's actually played 40-ish% of snaps last week behind Pacheco and seen 3 or more targets in each of the last 3, and he's averaging 45 receiving yards there. So PPR league, that's just right there, 7.5 points to start.
Yeah.
So I think you can do a
against
lot
the
worse.
Raiders are a decent matchup for running backs.
Bengals.
Sorry, yes. Bengals are middle of the pack. So nothing. I actually think Helaire is a good play this week. He might be one of those league-winning plays.
Exactly.
He gets crapped on so much just because he was taken in the first round, but if he was a third-round prospect, I feel like, and if he was taken there, I don't think he'd get nearly as much hate as he does. But yeah, I think he's really the last man standing. Is him and Deneric Prince, the Tulsa running back.
Yeah.
And anyone else? Kadarius Toney, but
there's someone else. Someone else that's a rookie, but can't think of the name.
Michael Pittman was on that roster at one point. He played a couple snaps.
Just an update. Julian Blackmon was just placed on IR, and Henry Black is the safety that was signed off the Steelers practice squad. So for the Colts.
Yep. Well, don't start Julian Blackmon. That's my recommendation there. Nick Cross, that's a big up for him. Yeah. Had this news come out half an hour ago, I would definitely have made Nick Cross number 2 DB behind PJ Locke.
That's why I wanted to make sure we brought it up because Locke is definitely the higher play, but I think Cross is a better shot probably than Humphrey, unless it's a cornerback needy league.
Yeah,
in which case Humphrey's probably rostered.
Yep. So back to CEH. Yep, I think he could be one of those league-winning type plays this week. Again, matchup, but especially if he's off the waivers, that's an awesome player just to plug in. If you have a Jalen Waddle who you just lost, now you can just plug Clyde Edwards-Helaire in there and get that same amount of points. That's wonderful. Other running back name, just to touch on, Kenneth Gainwell. Eagles are playing the Cardinals, who are the best running back matchup on the year. Over the last 4 games, he's played at least 40% of snaps in all of them, with a couple at or near 50. Over the last 2 games, 12 carries, 4 targets total. Not great workload, but it could be a blowout. It's kind of Kenny Gainwell season anyway, around the playoffs. So in a deep league, if you need an upside shot, I think he's there. If they're blowing out the Cardinals, which they theoretically should be, you could see Gainwell getting a lot more work to hold Swift, to keep him a little healthier.
Before we hop over to wide receiver, let's hit a defense question.
And we will get to that wide receiver question.
Yeah, right after we hit say.
Yep.
So we need to handcuff linebackers. Barton is there on waivers. There's Speed and Hudson. Other linebackers are. I wouldn't handcuff linebackers unless you know I would be willing to drop Barton to add Hudson, and honestly, Speed is good enough that you could drop. I guess Lloyd, but Bolton's been kind of pretty terrible since he came back. I think
okay, let's go with how would you. How many linebackers are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 7 linebackers here. How would you rate these 7 for, I guess, this week? I think Jones is 1 for me.
Jones is up there, but I probably top 4 are fairly easy with Jones, Franklin, Speed, and Hudson, which is crazy.
Yeah. And Franklin, I think, is 4 of that group since he's been struggling a little bit and has been very inconsistent with Speed in the lineup.
I think I'm going to stick with Bolton as 5 over Lloyd, but those 2 are pretty close, and then Barton's 7.
Yeah.
But I could see either way with Lloyd and Bolton.
Yeah, I would pick up Speed for Barton, or as Hudson's there, so I would pick up Hudson for Barton. Make that little switch, and then
Speed, Hudson, either way, both are playable, honestly, over
Mhm.
Bart for me.
Yeah.
as well.
Honestly, might just grab both of them over Barton and Lloyd. Let's not deal with the Devin Lloyd of it.
Yeah.
Do you want to hit this wide receiver question from Will just before we get into our names?
Absolutely.
Okay. Go.
Goodness, I own Watson and Shaheed. Keeper best ball PPR league. Grab Jameson Williams off waivers and drop one. I think Michael Thomas gets cut this offseason, which puts Shaheed out full-time wide receiver 2 next year, with a chance that they upgrade off of Carr. I don't think it's possible. I think they have another year where they're kind of stuck with him. But
Carr is good for Shaheed, though. So
yeah, and I haven't seen enough from Jameson Williams to drop either of those two.
no.
If you need points this week, also hate to drop Shaheed. I think Watson's back, honestly.
Yeah.
I think he practiced limited capacity on Friday. I know he's out on the field. So I think Watson and Shaheed are still the guys I'm keeping. And I'll leave Jameson Williams for now.
I think I'd have to agree there, even as a Jameson Williams stan. If you could drop someone else for him, I think he'd definitely be worth a pickup in a keeper. But
yeah, especially depending on how keeper. It kind of a little bit depends on how your keepers are actually like how it's played. If you forfeit picks in certain rounds.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I would not pick up Jameson Williams.
Not for either of these two at this point.
Yeah. Speaking of wide receivers, well, I was an idiot and deleted the names before I marked how we did. So the only one I know of for sure is Dontavian Wicks. We did good there. I feel like we didn't do as great.
DJ Montgomery was one of the other names. He had one catch.
Yep, that one was a bad name.
And then
Trey Tucker was the third. Now that I think about it, and that was probably a bad one too. So 1 and 2 probably. But first name we want to bring up, KJ Osborne, wide receiver for the Vikings. Since Jordan Addison went down, I would expect him to miss at least this week. KJ Osborne is a great start. Seen 7 targets in 2 of 3. He went 5 for 95 this past week on 7 targets, and he scored a touchdown as well. I would expect a possibility of a similar outcome, even if the Vikings were to change quarterbacks. Hopefully it's not Jaron Hall, but I don't know who they're going to pick.
Yeah, we'll see. The Packers are pretty good. Have been a decent matchup, I believe.
Yeah.
In the middle of the pack. The other, and Trey Tucker yesterday had a -4-yard catch and a 5-yard run. So,
I mean, I think I saw a ridiculous stat about Aiden O'Connell where he threw for 0 yards in quarters 2 through 4.
Sounds about right.
And they still won the game.
That was such a close game. So other name we want to bring up is Michael Wilson for the Cardinals, and really any of the Cardinals receivers as your league gets deeper. Philadelphia has been the best matchup for wide receivers this year. Last week, all of Greg Dortch and Rondell Moore, along with Michael Wilson, have been at or over 79% of snaps. Wilson's the leader of this one. He had 90% of snaps last week, I believe it was. None of them have really put up great numbers over the last couple of weeks, but with the matchup.
Kyler's still a little off, I think, more than anything.
Yeah. But see the matchup, saw Darius Slayton catch a long touchdown last night against the Eagles. Just upside shots here. It's really what it is.
Slay's still on IR, right? Or out?
I believe so.
So,
yeah. Really just need one play from any of these guys. Wilson, I think, is the safest bet of the group, though.
Yeah. And then last position, tight end. Tucker Kraft did great. I think it was like tight end 14 last week. Plenty playable, viable. Once you get outside the top 5, they're pretty much all the same if you can get enough points. So, do you want to hit on tight end? Pick your poison.
Sure. First one, I'll go Logan Thomas, the Commanders tight end. 6 targets, 5 for 36 and a touchdown last week. Most of those targets and receptions were with Jacoby Brissett. So that's a good sign. They have the 49ers this week, which I think actually aren't a horrible tight end matchup. I'll double check that.
I think you're right. But,
yeah, middle of the pack. So not terrible. Again, tight ends upside. He has volume there.
It's mostly, which for me at least, I like him as long as Brissett's the starter. If Howell's the starter, I don't think you can play a Commanders player.
Yeah, no, I would
For
agree.
their running, I say I would play either Rodriguez or Robinson, depending on who starts. But
oh yeah, I guess Robinson might be back, but
he still hasn't practiced, so we'll see.
Yeah.
No, we need to rush him back
No.
to that team. So,
do you think it is going to be Brissett or Howell starting this week?
I don't know how you can go to Howell.
Yeah. At the same time, what does going to Brissett really do for you? Maybe show some fight to keep a job, but
I mean, yeah, Rivera's. I mean, he's likely gone, but
yeah, I feel like he's toast either way. So
I'm him trying to win still. So
yeah, I'd agree. Probably Brissett then. And last name, if you want to hit on one of your guys from this offseason.
One of the popular breakout candidates, Chiga Okonkwo, playing the Houston Texans, which is a top 3 matchup, and he's been trending up playing time. At least 63% of snaps in 3 straight. 71 this past week, and seen 5 or more targets in 4 of the last 5, and I believe he got a touchdown pass this past week from Tannehill, which is not surprising. It wouldn't shock me if Tannehill's there. He's probably a better play. It seems like Levis likes to hyper target Hopkins, so I think he's a better streamer than Logan Thomas, potentially, if Tannehill plays. So I would rank Chig with Tannehill, Logan Thomas with Brissett, Chig with Levis, Logan Thomas with Howell.
I completely agree there.
Sorry for the very convoluted answer there, or not even a question, but just gross.
Yep. Yeah, so
thanks, Steve.
Yeah, you're the best, Steve. Check out Steve's waiver article as well.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like we have any other questions in there, so just want to say thank you to everyone for sticking with us this year. It's been a blast. I don't believe we'll be doing one of these next week. But as always, for start-sit questions, whether dynasty questions, hit us up. You can find Justin on Twitter/X at FFFBallers and myself at Jolo63. Or if you go to the idpguys.org and subscribe, you'll get access to our Discord where you can reach out to us and all of our other great writers, Steve included.
Hopefully you'll be hearing from us on here sometime this offseason. We're hoping to do some shows, talk some rookies.
Yes. It'll be a lot of fun. And we know we are working on our off-season plan right now for the IDP guy, or IDP Plus now as we're rebranding. But stay tuned for some announcements there. And thank you guys again. It's been a blast this year. Let's go win some championships.
Absolutely. Thanks all for listening to us.
Yeah. Hope you all had a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays and have a Happy New Year. Go win some chips.